Hello and welcome to Dice and Demons. I'm Emma and today I want to show you how I paint some teeny tiny tanks from Legions Imperialis that Games Workshop has kindly sent to me. So I start off with a model that's been primed using a white primer. This is the White Scars primer from Citadel, and I start painting it with one of my new speed paints. This one is called Moon Lake Coral and it's from the Army Painter. And I just started painting a tank pink because I knew I wanted a pink tank, because that was just, if I don't really know where to start, I will probably just go with pink, because pink is awesome, right? Now, speed paints along with contrast paints and such are not really meant for big flat surfaces, but because this is a really teeny tiny tank and it doesn't have a lot of big surfaces, and also because I'll be covering it with a lot of texture, it doesn't really matter to me. The next tank I decided to paint green, and for this I'm using Shamrock Green, which is also one of the Speed Paints 2.0 from the Army Painter. I really like this green color. It's really vivid and bright, and it's just right up my alley. I just think it looks great, and there's just something fun about putting on just a big splash of bright green. I don't really plan on playing Legions Imperialis, so I'm not trying to paint them to match a specific chapter or army or anything. This is just a fun creative project, and I think there's just always something really motivating about that, and I've had so much fun painting these. I really went back and forth in my mind over how I wanted to paint these, if I wanted to do like my typical cross-hatching patterns or something like that. But in the end I decided I wanted to go for a really quick and easy camouflage style painting, which is what you can see me starting out with here on the pink tank. I am using some Achillean green contrast paint, and I'm just splashing it on from a brush, and I have watered the paint down a little bit, because if it's too heavy it just ends up sitting on the model in big globs and it doesn't really look great, especially not on such a small model as this one. The next color I was using here was Warlord Purple from Vallejo, also watered down a bit. And then I grabbed a fluorescent pink paint. This is from Huge Miniatures, and it is called Pulse Wave Pink. And again, it was this was actually the airbrush version of the fluorescent paints from Huge Miniatures, and it worked really well. So you need to water down your paints if you want to do something like this. You need to water it down to approximately the same consistency as an airbrush paint. Next up, I grabbed another paint from Huge Miniatures, and this one is called Cyber Pink, and that was the last highlight color I used on the pink tank. Then I used exactly the same method as you can see here on the green tank, only I started with a brown contrast paint. This one is Snakebite Leather, to get sort of the darker look for the camouflage pattern. And you can see I switched out the brush in between from an ordinary brush to an old toothbrush, just because the toothbrush actually works better. Then for the green, first I used Mood Green as the first highlight color. And then secondly, I grabbed two neon green paints. The first one is called Gamma Green, and the second one is called Quantum Green. And both of those are from Huge Miniatures. And then lastly, I splashed on a tiny bit of neon yellow paint, as you can see here. And that is a paint called Starfire Yellow. This is obviously quite a messy method for painting, and it doesn't give you any sort of exact results. You can't really control where each tiny droplet of paint will land, but that's kind of the fun of it, and it's a method I've used before on some of my art marines. I think I first used it on the Jackson Pollock style art marine, and I just thought it worked really well and was really fun, and it was really quick to do as well. So if you have an army you want to do really quickly and you want a fun camouflage pattern, I would definitely recommend that you try this out. Then when I was finished, or almost finished, with the green and the pink one, I decided I also needed one in orange. And so I painted this up using Magmadroth Flame, which is a contrast paint from Citadel. For the orange, I also started spraying it with some brown paint, just as I did with the green one, and this is also Snakebite Leather. And it's just because I wanted a color that would sort of read as a darker version of the base color, and I think brown works really well for that, both with orange and with green. Then for the first layer of highlights, I used Vallejo's Orange Fire. It's just a nice vibrant orange, and I thought it would sort of work as a nice mid-tone, because I of course wanted to use a fluorescent paint on this one as well. I didn't want the orange one to be left out. So for that I used a color again from Huge Miniatures, and this one is called Laser Orange. And lastly, I used a bit of Flash Kids Yellow from Citadel, just a completely standard, you know, yellow. And I could also have used the Starfire Yellow, the Neon Yellow from Huge Miniatures, but I decided against it because I wanted this to look a little bit warmer in tone than the green one. Then afterwards, I was actually quite happy with the chaotic sprayed pattern, but I wanted it to sharpen up the look of the tank just a little bit. So I used the darkest tone I sprayed on the model for putting in all the in between all the sort of armor panels. So I'm not doing an edge highlight, I'm doing sort of a panel lining. So here I'm using the snakebite leather, and for the pink one I used the Achillean green. Then for the weapons, I just painted them black and did a really quick dry brushing of metal, and then I painted some of the metal details, and that was it. This was, as I said, just a fun project, and it was a pretty quick painting project. I had a lot of other stuff to work on because I am, if you're seeing this video on the day it goes live, I'm at a 40k tournament, and so I had a lot of stuff to get ready, and so I wanted this to be quick and fun. And here you can see the final result. In the end, I decided that the tanks as they were just a little bit too boring, so I used a bit of blood for the blood guard on the teeth in front, and I think that enhanced the look quite a lot. I know you might say less is more, but I mean, not in this kind of stuff. And here you can see a kind of crazy looking photo of the orange and green one under a UV light. I unfortunately didn't have a chance to take a photo of the purple one under a UV light, but I did get a very silly photo of myself wearing the orange and green tank as earrings, because, I mean, why not? As I said, I'm not painting them for an army or anything, I'm just painting them for fun, and so I decided to, well, turn them into jewelry, because, I mean, I'm an orc player, so now I have looted some tanks to wear as earrings. That's silly and orky, and it's kind of fun. So thank you so much for watching this video, guys. But before you leave, I would just like to take the opportunity to thank the wonderful people who support Dice and Demons on Patreon. So thank you so much to Thomas Madsen, Scott Broadway, Gwenna L, Queen's Wolf, Double J's Terrain, Mola Mola, TJ Kubiak, Mando Project, Starcon85, S Bear, Economicus, Firelord21, and Elliot Philby. If you would also like to support Dice and Demons on Patreon, you can do so by hitting the link that I will leave in the description. Also, if you want to have some fluorescent paints of your own, you can get them from Huge Miniatures, and I have a 5% discount code that you can also find in the description. If you want to stay up to date on my painting projects, you can do so by following Dice and Demons over on Instagram, and you can also follow me on X, formerly known as Twitter. So thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time. Bye!